Hey everyone, it's Christy from Green Eye Tarot. Today I'm here to film the Shop My Decks video. So I've recently decluttered a bunch of decks and I'm going to be finally rehoming them and putting them up for sale. So this is an opportunity for my subscribers who are interested to possibly purchase the decks that I'm going to be rehoming. This is only open to United States subscribers at this time because of shipping. The shipping situation, so I do apologize, but stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll tell you how you can go about reaching out to me if you are interested in any of the decks. I'll also list in the description box below how you can go about purchasing a deck. I'll have all the decks listed and the prices I'm selling them for, and I'm going to kind of go through them and show you the condition they're in. Most of my decks are pretty much pristine. They're in fairly new condition, especially a lot of these decks because I didn't really use them. That's why I'm rehoming them. So they're in pretty perfect condition. But I'll go ahead and run through them and show them to you and talk a little bit about why they just didn't resonate with me. It's nothing against the creators or the artists or anything with these decks. It's just they didn't resonate with me. And I think I've talked about on the channel before how I'm really trying to pare down that tarot library that I have and oracle decks, and I really just want to have a manageable collection of decks that I can use. Me personally, I just need to declutter things that I'm not using, things that I haven't looked at in a very long time, impulse buys, things like that. So these are the decks I'm getting rid of. I'll go ahead and turn the camera around. We'll get into it. I'll show you them, and please let me know if you have any questions about them. And hopefully maybe some of you find some decks that you've been looking for and, haven't purchased or, looking to get a better price on some of them. I think I've priced them pretty fairly, but any questions at all, you can let me know. So now let's shop the decks. Okay, in literally no particular order, just grabbing decks. This is the Tarot Deluxe. This is by Fournier. It's one of those decks that's like a little bit of a different shape. It's a smaller size. It's definitely not standard tarot size. It actually I think is still in order because I haven't used it at all. And like I said, this is pretty much in near perfect condition. It comes in a little tuck box. But yeah, it's very sweet. It has like the figures have like very sweet expressions. It reminds me a little bit of the Lillifer Tarot. Like, I don't know, something about the people in them. But this is the Tarot Deluxe. It's by Aitor Sareba. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. I'm so sorry. Look at this chariot. But yeah, so it's a very cute little deck. Like I said, it's much smaller than normal tarot size. But it's definitely just, I think the small size, I talk about that a lot too, about how the small size just doesn't work for me. But this one was just sort of a miss. But it is very sweet. It has a really sweet energy. So if anyone's been looking for, for this deck, it is mass market. It's pretty readily available. But if anyone is looking for this deck, at maybe a little bit lower than what they're selling it for, I am getting rid of and rehoming the Tarot Deluxe. Next up is the Spiral Tarot. This is a US Games deck. This also comes in a tuck box. There is a little tiny tear there in the tuck box just for the sake of transparency. So these are the backs. And let's see. So yeah, so this is the Spiral Tarot. I think it's been around for quite a while. This is by Kay Steventon, I believe is her last name. But it's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. It's pretty, it's pretty standard in terms of, you can see it's very similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So yeah, this is, like I said, a US game system deck. It's a little bit of a different shape. I feel like it's shorter and a little bit wider than a standard tarot card. I like that Ace of Pentacles. But yeah, I just didn't connect with this one. I was really intrigued by it. And then when I got it in my hands, it was very confusing. There just seems to be it's very like not cohesive, the artwork. So it really tripped me up and I had a trouble with it. The art is very nice. It's just, there's like people from different time periods. Like it's kind of throwing me off. Like there was no cohesion for me. So I had trouble with it. And the borders, it's, the artwork is sort of like zoomed in. It's not, very big, but there's a lot going on in some of the cards. So but it's very pretty. Like I said, standard, if you read RWS, this would be, you know, a great deck to get because it definitely follows along with that system. So that's the Spiral Tarot by US Games. Next up, we have the Vagabond Wild Tarot. This is the first edition. This is no longer in print as far as I know. There's been a second, a third edition, a pocket edition, I believe, but this edition is no longer in print. It is edged in this rose gold. The cardstock is pretty glossy. It's pretty thick though. These are the backs. They're really pretty. This does not come with a guidebook. It has the 2-piece box. There is no guidebook with this, but it is the first edition and no longer in print. So I'll be taking that into consideration when I price the deck, but this is has been updated, so you can see, you can visit, if you just Google Vagabond Wild Tarot, you should be able to find information about the creator and the newer versions of the deck, but this is the first edition, so this is the original. Like I said, the cardstock is glossy, but it's pretty thick. It's a pretty fat deck if you can see. It's pretty chunky. But it's again Rider-Waite-Smith clone. It follows pretty closely the Rider-Waite-Smith. It's kind of like, it's a little like celestial, a little ethereal kind of feeling. But yeah, the artwork to me is like reminiscent of like almost like a cartoon. It reminds me of like She-Ra, Princess of Power. I'm like dating myself here, but that's one of the cartoons I enjoyed when I was a kid. And something about it, like it gives me those vibes, like a cartoon, or like Gem and the Holograms. Again, I'm definitely dating myself here, but yeah, I don't connect with it anymore. It's, you know, the people featured are very young. It's not a lot of diversity, but it is a nice deck. And if you like this type of artwork, or if you're just looking for a deck that's like a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, or if you're looking for a deck for like a teenager, like a teenage girl, I feel like this would be like a great starter deck or like intro you know, deck for them if they're, you know, a teenage girl, because it kind of looks a little like a fantasy novel too. Kind of has those vibes. And it kind of, you know, the artwork, you know, it kind of looks like, you know, it was done, it's kind of like that digital, it reminds me of like the digital artwork in like the 90s, but more updated, like more modern looking figures and things. But it is a nice deck, but it's just one that I don't find myself using. I've had it for a few years. It's the Vagabond Wild Tarot. It's by Tiffany Sosa, and this is the first edition, and it is out of print. I'm pretty sure everybody knows this deck, the Wild Unknown Tarot. I've had this deck for a very long time, but it is in near perfect condition. I do have the book that goes with it, but I no longer have the actual outer box. It came in like a big box with like a shell that went over it. I only have the 2-piece box and the book, so I don't have the outer box, like the whole thing, but I do have the deck and the book, which to me is probably the most important thing. But these are the backs. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with this deck. I don't connect with animal decks. And there's a lot of animals in here. And this is it's very minimalistic, I think. It's very pippish, which again, I don't really, you know, read. I need a little bit more in the cards. I kind of need that fully illustrated narrative types of deck. So while I've had this deck for a very long time, and I did use it when I first got it, I like pretty much used the crap out of it. I never really connected to it, and I sort of was always kind of confused when I was using it. But it is a really nice deck. The card stock is matte. This is probably like the first deck I had that was like matte card stock. It's like the first time I had that experience. So the card stock is really nice. But I just don't use it. As you can see, it's in almost perfect condition. But you know, it's just sitting on my shelf, and it's a shame because this deck, I know a lot of people who love it and connect with it, and it definitely should be used in someone's tarot practice. It just hasn't been used in mine. So I'm definitely rehoming this one, and, you know, offering it for, you know, a pretty fair price, because this one is pretty readily available. But this is, you know, in almost perfect condition. So if anyone's been looking or like thinking about getting this deck, you know, it's definitely a great one. It's definitely one that a lot of people love, and I think someone can get a lot out of it. So that's the Wild Unknown Tarot. It'll come in this 2-piece box and with the guidebook. Next up, we have the Weiser Tarot, which was, I believe, came out last year. So it's sort of like that reimagined, recolored, and they brought some diversity into a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. These are the backs. They're very pretty. It comes in this 2-piece sturdy box and has a little guidebook. Pretty basic guidebook, but it has some spreads in it. So again, if you know the Rider-Waite-Smith, then this is a deck that will look, very familiar. For me, it just didn't, the colorations on, some of the colorations I do like. I kind of like the different colors that they chose for the suits, like the green, like this green color. But to me, the images look a little out of focus. I feel like they didn't really do the diversity as well as they could have. I don't know. I feel like it just is not, they missed the mark a little bit with the diversity. I appreciate that that's what they attempted to do. They tried to bring diversity into this deck. I don't know, it missed the mark for me. I have other decks that are very diverse and do an amazing job. And I have so many RWS decks, like how many do I need, right? This is one of those questions I ask myself all the time is, how many RWS decks could I possibly need? So I've rehomed pretty much all of them except the 2 that I talked about yesterday in my in the video I filmed yesterday, my deck collection video. So I have those 2 that really don't have need for another RWS. But this is a mass market deck. It is pretty readily available, but this is literally still in order. I've never used it. It's in perfect condition. So if you've been thinking about the Weiser Tarot, then let me know because I have it available. And like I said, it's in perfect condition. Next up is the Phantasma Tarot. This is a US Games deck by Paulina Fay or Paulina Cassidy. So this is US Games, so it's pretty standard US Games cardstock. It comes with a little guidebook. And these are the backs. Like I said, pretty standard US Games cardstock, standard size. If you're familiar with any of Paulina's decks, they're very whimsical. They have very soft pastel colors. They have like very fantastical creatures. This was definitely the one that kind of spoke to me the most. I don't have any of her decks, but this was definitely the one that intrigued me the most. But I just didn't connect with it. I got it home. I do love the artwork. Like, I look at this with a fox. I mean, I do love the artwork. And like, the colors are nice and soft. It's a really nice size. I'm a huge fan of these US Games decks that are this size, and I like this cardstock. I have no problem with this cardstock. It's like that silky, sort of that satiny cardstock. It's not too glossy. So I do appreciate the cardstock, and I'm a fan of these US Games decks. I like the size. It's a little bit bigger than standard tarot size. And it's a beautiful deck. I don't really have anything bad to say about it other than I have other things in my tarot library that sort of fill this niche for me. So I find myself never reaching for this. I don't use it. I used it for like a week or so when I first got it. I did get it at a local metaphysical shop. Again, this is mass market, so it's pretty readily available, but it's really nice. Her decks are really pretty. I know a lot of people have the Spirit Song, but again, that's an animal, fully animal deck, I believe. This one is a little different, but this is the Phantasma Tarot by Paulina Fay. Next up is a classic, the Robinwood Tarot. I actually just spoke about this deck in my deck collection video. So it comes in this sort of cardboard box. This is a deck that's been around a long time. This is a Llewellyn deck. The backs happen to be really nice. I like them. I like this green color, but standard tarot size, sort of standard Llewellyn cardstock. I did speak about this, like I said, in my deck collection video. I definitely will not revisit my Princess Bride interpretation and my Princess Bride reenactment for anyone. But yeah, so this deck is a classic. It's been around for a long time, and I think that's why I purchased it. I feel like I was like in a metaphysical store and I was like, oh, they have the Morgan Greer, they have the Aquarian, and I went for this one. And it's like I had good intentions and I planned on using it, but it's just a little bit too retro for me. I kind of can't get past the retro artwork. I feel like the Barbara Walker that I have sort of fills that artwork, does it a little bit better for me. This one is definitely like retro, and while it does give me like 90s, like late 80s, early 90s vibes, I just find myself like, I don't know, something is not clicking with me. It's definitely not one that I'm going to use like every day. I know a lot of people have this deck and like use it and love it, and just like the Morgan Greer, it's like a beloved deck, but for me it misses the mark. I think I got it like too late into my tarot practice or something like that. But it's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, so it's very easy to read. It's in perfect condition. I'm pretty sure it was still in order up to my deck collection video. I think I messed it up. But yeah, so this is the Robinwood Tarot. Comes with a little white booklet. I'm pretty sure if you read tarot, you're probably not going to need a guidebook, or you could just kind of use any standard tarot book. But that's the Robinwood Tarot by Robin Wood. It's a Llewellyn deck. Here we have another very popular deck, the Modern Witch Tarot. This is a Liminal 11 deck. I have pretty much, I think they still create this deck the same way. It's in this two-piece like slide-off box. It has a hardcover little white book. So it's not really a little white book, is it? But I think everyone's really familiar with this deck. It has like glossy cardstock, and it's very thick. It has very thick. It's a chunky deck. These are the backs. They're really cool. I think the backs are pretty cool. Again, for a modern deck, it's pretty cool. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about it. I think it's just where I'm at in my life. You know, I'm sort of in that midlife time, and I feel like for me, this is definitely for like a younger crowd of tarot enthusiasts. And I already have the Light Seers, which like is more like me. It's just more my speed, so I connect with that one a lot more. So Light Seers is one that will kind of always sort of have that modern vibe and be the one that I connect with more. I think this is brilliant. I think it was really well done. Like, I love this High Priestess with the laptop. Like, for being a modern witch deck, I think this one is great. I love this Hermit card. Like, this is one of those decks that I think was well done, and I do there's a lot of stuff I do like about it, but I never reached for it. It's sort of like the novelty wore off after I had it for a while, and it's just sitting on my shelf. It's like never going to get used. Where I'm at right now in my practice and how I use tarot, and just like I said, the age I am right now, I feel like this is great for like the younger generation of tarot readers. And it's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, so again, pretty easy to read. I think it's like super expressive. I really like what they did with the diversity, and like it. I think they did a great job. There's a lot of like gender fluid people in it, and you know, they've sort of flipped gender roles on its head, which I like. So yeah, I definitely think it has a lot of good things about it. I just don't use it enough. But if you've been looking for a modern deck, and I think this is a great one, especially if it's like you're new to having modern decks in your collection. I think this is a great option. If you're a little bit younger, if you're looking for something that has a younger energy, I think the Modern Witch Tarot is a great choice. Next up is the Chrysalis Tarot. So this comes with this guidebook. So there's a pretty decent like full-size guidebook. It also has this Chrysalis Tarot like spread sheet. It's not really a cloth because it's fold out. The Chrysalis Fairy Ring spread. So this will be included with whoever purchases the deck. I will include this because this came with the deck. It's so big, I can't even show it on camera, but it is a spreadsheet that you can unfold to use with the deck. It comes in a tuck box. I I think this is a US Games, if I remember correctly. It does have a little white book, but this deck has the big guidebook, so that will be included. These are the backs. They have really beautiful backs. The cardstock is sort of like silky. Like, it's definitely not matte, but it's not shiny. It's pretty much standard tarot size. Again, like I said, this is a really pretty deck, and I've had this for a while. And while I used to use this quite a bit, I haven't used it in a very long time. It definitely has its own sort of system because it renames a lot of the cards. So if that's something that you have trouble with, like if you just like sort of the traditional suits and things like that, probably not the deck for you. But if you're looking for something where they sort of it goes off like on its own path, then this might be a good choice. It's very beautiful. I think the artwork is very beautiful. I think the plates, the title plates, I really like the way they're done. I like the font. Like the borders don't bother me on this deck, but it's really pretty. I think after a while, it got confusing again. There's like no cohesion. I don't know. I'm a person who needs a lot of cohesiveness in their decks. So when we sort of go with like, we have like Gaia, and then we have like Merlin, and then we have Kali, and then we have like a pirate. It's like, it's kind of all over the place. But it definitely reminds me of like a storybook where you could meet all of those people, which is kind of neat. And I do like the way they've done the minor arcana. Oh my God, I love bears. See, this is why I shouldn't flip through decks, because this is going to make me keep this deck just because of the bear. I love bears. Oh, and like these prayer flags. It really is a pretty deck. So, you know, it's nothing against the deck that I'm getting rid of it. It's just I have not used it like in a very long time. It's in very good condition. The cardstock, I think the cardstock is very nice on this deck. It's like a little thick, but it's definitely like flexible. Here we have Hearn the Hunter. Yeah, I'm very confused by this deck. It's definitely nothing against the deck. It's me, definitely. So, but this is the Chrysalis Tarot. It's a very nice deck. If you're looking for a storybook type deck, this could definitely be one that could fit that, I think, for a lot of people. So it's really pretty. And like I said, it comes with the big guidebook and that fold out spread poster. So yeah, and it's in this little tuck box. So yeah, it's a really nice deck. I think that if you're looking for something like storybook that has that sort of magical world building type of feel, this is definitely one that you could dive into. So that's the Chrysalis Tarot. It's by Holly Sierra as the artist, and Tony Brooks is the creator, and it's published by US Games. Next up is the new Palladini Tarot, a US Games deck. This is by David Palladini, who created the Aquarian Tarot. So it comes in a tuck box. It's pretty standard, has a little white book, standard tarot size deck, standard US Games cardstock, the whole shebang. These are the backs. So it's that US Games cardstock. And like I said, the creator of the Aquarian Tarot. I spoke about this in my deck collection video as well. That was just uploaded yesterday. You know, I'm not going to go too much into it, but it definitely hit weird for me. Like, there's things that I could see why people like about it, but the faces, I just can't get past the faces of the figures in this deck. They're, I don't know, they're like very angular, very long, like pointy chins. Not that there's anything wrong with pointy chins. I have a pointy chin. I have a cleft in my chin. This is like nothing against people who have pointy chins at all. But something about this deck is, it didn't work for me. It didn't click. I had it. I tried to use it. I like used it for like some readings, and I just didn't get anything out of it. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. I feel like, how many times can I say, like, how many Rider-Waite-Smith clones can you have that feel the same to me? Like, I have the Eudes Tarot, which I love, which is out of print and like was like a unicorn deck for me, which is kind of similar. So I love that one, but this one is just, the figures are just they sort of like creep me out, and it's nothing against the artist at all, but something about it is just creepy to me. So I will be rehoming this, but I feel like someone would definitely love. I feel like there's a lot of people on TarotTube who love this deck, you know, which is great. You know, that it gets use and it's like in circulation and people are still using it and talking about it. But for me, it didn't work. So that's the new Palladini Tarot by US Games. Next up is the Field Tarot. This is a US Games deck as well. I have a lot of US Games decks. So it comes with a pretty decent guidebook. Again, the cardstock, standard US Games, standard size. These are the backs. So this is a really nice deck. I did speak about this one in my collection video again, and I shared my thoughts on how I thought this was going to get rehomed. It is a pip deck, and I just can't do pip decks. I've tried. I don't know what it is about me and the pip decks, but it just doesn't work. And these have keywords, so I thought this one was going to be it because it's got the keywords on it. I thought this is going to be it, but again, my brain needs that narrated scene, that really fully illustrated. My brain needs it. I need that. It's just how I am. So unfortunately, this one didn't work out, but it's really beautiful. The colors, I feel like the color palette is really nice on this. To me, I don't know, it's got a very summery vibe. It's got a very desert vibe, which is cool. But it just didn't land for me. I have the Starseeker Tarot, which kind of reminds me of this, which I absolutely adore. So that's one that sort of fills that niche for me, but I can't do the pips. But I do like this deck. I think it's really nice, but it's in almost perfect condition because I never even used it. I believe I flipped through it. I tried to do card pulls with it, and it just didn't. The keywords weren't really working for me. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to rehome this one. That's the Field Tarot by Hannah Elizabeth Fofana. But it's a beautiful deck published by US Games. Okay, next is the Witch's Wisdom Tarot by Phyllis Curott. Artwork by Danielle Barlow. This one hurts a little. I gotta admit, this one hurts. This is a Hay House. It is a beautifully produced deck. It has this poem here. The guidebook is really amazing with this deck. I mean, written by Phyllis Curott, like how could it not be? But it really is nice. I read through the guidebook when I got this deck, and it just really touched me, like in terms of the way it's written. It's so poetic and like beautiful. The sections that she has, you know, for each card: wisdom, essence, counsel, magic, attraction, spell. So it reads almost like a spell book. So I really dig that about this. It's a really nice guidebook. And I almost kept this deck because of the guidebook, but I think it's silly. It also comes in this really nice bag. Again, a really nicely produced deck for a mass market. Again, this is Hay House. The cards are very big. They're more oracle size, definitely. These are definitely not a standard tarot size. It's a big deck. Like you can see how and I have small hands, so this is like even overhand shuffling for me gets a little tricky with this deck. But it's really beautiful. I love the backs. I think it has gorgeous backs. I love the color blue. I think I just couldn't connect with it. It sort of has its own system. It's very earthy, very pagan. The Witch's Wisdom is definitely a great name for it. And I do love, there's so many cards that I do like, but I think because I struggle with animal decks, like there are a lot of animals in this deck. And again, like the major arcana is definitely like a different system. It's definitely different because the major arcana goes backwards. So it's like a backwards journey. So yeah, and the guidebook, it kind of explains that. So you can definitely use, the guidebook to help with this deck. But I just couldn't connect with it. I wanted to so bad because I think it's a really beautiful deck. But I've come to accept that I have to embrace when I'm not connecting with something. Like, I have to embrace letting it go. Like, I have to do that for myself. As much as I wanted to connect with this deck and as much as I could hold on to it, it's going to sit on my shelf. And it's like in practically brand new condition. I think it's such a shame, because if there's someone out there who wants this deck and who will love it and use it and it will become part of their spiritual practice, then I feel like it should go, that's where it should go. It needs to go. I don't like that it sits there and is not used. But the cardstock is really nice. It's like Hay House matte, that matte cardstock. It's nice. Like I said, it's a very well produced deck, but I just didn't connect with it. And so it's definitely time to let it go, as much as it pains me. It's really beautiful. I think this could work really well as like an oracle deck as well. I think that that's something but I have enough oracle decks where I wouldn't even use it in that capacity. So time to let the Witch's Wisdom go. But I hope it goes to someone who will really appreciate it. So that is The Witch's Wisdom by Phyllis Curott. Next, we have another big box deck, Tarot of Dragons by Sean McKenzie. This is a big box Llewellyn deck. Look at that. Full color, glossy guidebook. The traditional big box guidebooks from Llewellyn. So it has a really nice full color glossy guidebook. So very beautiful. And the backs are really nice. So this is standard, Llewellyn cardstock, standard size. The backs are pretty awesome with these dragons and sort of this spiraling pattern. Let me zoom in a little since the deck is so much smaller than the ginormous box it comes in. But yeah, I also spoke about this in my deck collection video as part of my mass market decks. It's a really nice deck. I just don't know why I thought that a deck full of just dragons was going to be something that's going to work out for me. Considering I don't really use animal decks, and I know dragons are not really animals, but they are definitely not humans. And so, yeah, I'm not really sure what I was thinking. This is one of those impulse buys, and this is definitely like a subject for a different video. But this was definitely an impulse buy. This was a Barnes & Noble impulse buy. I feel like we've all had those. Like, raise your hand if you've had a Barnes & Noble or like a Books A Million or just a big bookstore tarot deck impulse buy. Like, I've had several of them, I feel like, but this one, definitely that's what this was, and yeah, I'm not sure why I did it. It's really nice. There's nothing wrong with this deck. Like, it's very cool. I think the use of the dragons is really well done. He's done a great job of like mixing, like sort of the demeanors, and the situations that they're in. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but it's the same reason I didn't get the Tarot of Owls. And I love owls. Like, I love owls. I love owl energy, but I never was tempted to get that deck, an entire deck of owls, like just in human situations. If there's going to be animals, I need there to be a mix of humans and animals, and just sort of having it be not so sort of just one track, mind. So again, this is a me thing, nothing to do with anything else, but this is a nice deck. Again, it's in perfect condition. I never use it. I flip through it and that's it. So the deck is in completely perfect condition. The box is in perfect condition. It's, it's the Llewellyn big box. So kind of, if you have one of those, then you know what you're getting. You're getting the big glossy guidebook, the really nice box. So that's the Tarot of Dragons. Next up is the Phantomwise Tarot by Erin Morgenstern. Really sad this one didn't work out for me because I did love the book. And again, this is one of those things where, like, just because I like the book doesn't mean I'm going to like the tarot deck. And again, nothing wrong with it. I'm not really a fan of the cardstock. That's one of the things. It's linen, which is lovely for a mass market deck. That's great. But it's like, it's a very rough It's very textury. Can you hear that? It's like very textury. I don't know. It's a tactile thing with me, but it's really pretty. The backs are really nice. It's standard tarot size. It comes with a guidebook, of course. It's really pretty. Like if you like black and white decks, this definitely, I could see this being an option. And if you like Rider-Waite-Smith, I could definitely see this being an option for someone. Even if, and you don't have to have read her book, not at all. This, you know, can just be used as a tarot. It's really nicely done. You know, the artwork is really nice. I don't really have anything bad to say about it other than the very textured linen cardstock. And the pregnant empress, which always just sort of gets under my skin. But yeah, I just didn't connect with it. Like I literally bought it home and I looked through it and I was like, oh, this is nice. And then it sat over on the side and never was picked up again. So that's a good indication that I'm never going to use this. I said it in my other video. The Tarot of the Abyss. That's like my black and white sort of grayscale deck. It's the one I'm always going to go for. I don't have a lot of black and white type decks, so that's the one I'm always going to gravitate towards. That's the one I'm going to pick up. So unfortunately, the Phantomwise Tarot will be leaving my collection, and hopefully will go to someone who's really going to love it and use it, because it's a really nice deck. And like I said, this is in brand new condition. It's never been used, just flipped through. And so yeah, so practically brand new, the Phantomwise Tarot. Up next is the Lover's Path Tarot set. This is a giant deluxe. This is, I believe, a deluxe box set. This is by US Game System. I don't think they produce this anymore. It has a Velcro closure and opens like this. It is huge. I can't even get it in camera. So I'm going to take the book out, and then the deck is in this tuck box. And then this is a scroll that has spreads on it. That's tied with a red ribbon. It's in really good condition. The box is in very good condition. I think there's just a little bit of wear and tear on the end here. You can see. So some shelf wear. But other than that, it's in great condition. So it comes with this big full color book. Like I said, this is a deluxe edition. And this is the Lover's Path Tarot. So a lot of the figures featured are like couples from history, or you know, just different different like people from history who've had relationships. So obviously it's a very love centric deck, great for relationship readings and love readings. It's really pretty. And like there's the lovers associated with each one, so it tells you like who's featured on the cards. So like this is like Tristan and Isolde, and it's affiliated with the Desire card in the major arcana. So it kind of relates the myth of the lovers. So this is the cup suit. So this is the Tristan and Isolde myth. So it's very, if you're into like the myths and like I said, lovers, like love readings and things like that, if you do a lot of love readings, this is a great deck for that. Because it's just the energy of the deck. The cards are like oracle size. They're sort of not entirely matte. I mean, I would say they're matte. They're sort of like silky matte, but they're more oracle size, the cards. But it's a really pretty deck. It's very romantic, like the way the borders and like the scroll and just the way that the font is written. It's very romantic. It's a very romantic deck, hence the name, the Lover's Path. But you know, it definitely has its issues. But mainly that there's like really a lack of diversity in terms of the relationships that are represented. They're all pretty much heterosexual, you know, relationships between a male presenting and a female presenting person. So it definitely has its problems in terms of the diversity, but if you're someone that enjoys myths, it does include myths from like different cultures and different parts of the world. So there's that aspect of a diversity. You're definitely seeing like sort of like from different pantheons and just different tales and folklore from different parts of the world, which is cool. So that part, you know, is definitely nice. Like I said, the cards are nice. They're just big. They're definitely big cards. So shuffling, if you have small hands, you know, might be a little bit of an issue. I can't riffle shuffle this. No, definitely not. But great for love readings, relationship readings. Yeah, it's a very romantic deck. But yeah, it's really pretty. I feel like the artwork is really pretty. The colors are really nice. But yeah, this deck is in almost perfect condition. I bought this deck off of someone else. So I did buy this secondhand, but it's in great condition. I'm not sure the first person who had it ever used it really that much because it's in really good condition. The cards are practically brand new. And like I said, the box just shows a little bit of shelfware, but it has an inner box. So you've got a tuck box that goes inside the big box that holds the book. So that is the Lover's Path Tarot by Chris Walder. Next is the Star Tarot. This is the 2nd edition. So this is the updated edition. It comes in a very big box. Like the Llewellyn, it comes with a very chunky guidebook that is filled with information. It has color. It's small, but color representations of each card. But it is really filled, jam-packed with information. It goes into the symbolism, like in this image, 2 golden bears have paused to enjoy the bountiful harvest of the 4 of Wands. So it goes into the symbolism. At the back, there's some really, really neat, the author has included a yearly growth, like how to calculate your lifetime personality symbol and your yearly growth symbol. So sort of like your birth card, what we kind of know as your birth card. And then your yearly growth would be like your card of the year. And then a little synopsis about how that's going to affect you for the year. So that's really cool. That's really neat. I'm in a lover's year, just to share, if anyone cares. I'm in a lover's year, which I think is really cool. We're in March and I've already had to make gigantic choices in my life. So I can definitely see the lover's year playing out for me in the sense of making choices. But anyway, so this has a great guidebook. This is by Kathy McClelland. And then the deck is, like I said, the updated edition. So this is the 2nd edition. It has really nice backs and really nice matte cardstock. The cards are definitely a little bit bigger than standard tarot size, but they're really nice. They're a nice size. They're not wide. They're just like longer, I think, but it has matte cardstock. This is a really nice deck. It's produced really nicely. They did updating this. They did a great job updating this from the 1st edition. So the cardstock is really nice. This is a really nice deck. It's way too much for me. Like I bit off more than I can chew. It's definitely like more thothy, I think, than RWS. To me, it's definitely more Thoth-based, and I don't read Thoth. So this was going to be my sort of trying to read Thoth. I think it throws me off because it does feel like this is, to me, is like very Thothy, or like it's very Pippish, but then it has cards that are RWS. Like to me, they look like the RWS. So yeah, very confusing. It's very confusing to me. Again, cohesion. I have a lot of trouble with that. So for me, this deck confused me a lot because I see the RWS and I see Thoth and I see like Marseille. I don't know. I see all of them in here. So I struggled with this, and I'm really sad because this is a beautiful deck, and I thought I definitely was going to like study it and going to like go deep dive in it, and it just didn't happen. So it's been sitting on my shelf. It's in perfect condition. They're really nice cards. It's a really nice deck. So if you've been thinking about the Star Tarot, it's a deck that's been around a while, but this is the updated version. Like I said, the cardstock is really nice. The book is amazing. It comes with this, really nice, juicy guidebook. So if this is something that you were looking for, I would definitely snap this up because it's a really nice deck. It just didn't work for me, but that's, again, a me thing, and it could definitely work for someone who's looking to dive into a really meaty deck, meaty guidebook. That's the Star Tarot 2nd edition. Okay, last tarot deck, and this one hurts too because I so wanted to connect with this deck and love it and have it be a deck that I used. This is the Spacious Tarot. This is the 2nd edition, dated 2020. So this is a beautiful deck by Carrie Mallon, who's a wonderful tarot personality in the tarot world. And this is a really beautiful deck. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this deck. It has a flip box like this, very nice sturdy box. It has a very nice guidebook. It's sort of like a little white book, but it's pretty chunky. And then the card stock is a lovely matte card stock. It's a little bit smaller than standard tarot, but not too much smaller. And like I said, I feel like everyone's pretty familiar with this deck. It's been around now for a while. I believe they released an expansion pack for it, which I don't have. Again, this was my hope that I could get into a deck that was minimal, and I didn't need the illustrated scenes, and I just don't know why. I just don't stick to what works for me. It's like, I don't know if it's just my brain. Like, I feel like, oh, I have to be challenged. Like, I have to challenge myself to like broaden my horizons. And while I have broadened my horizons with my tarot practice, I just haven't broadened them this way. In that, and again, there's a lot of animals in the deck, you know, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't really use animal decks. So there's that. There's the fact that I typically reach for decks that are fully illustrated in narrative and have like scenes that, you know, really kind of help me use my intuition. And I feel like that's counterintuitive, like, because a deck like this gives you the space, right? The Spacious Tarot, the space to use your intuition and the space to sort of, you're looking into the space, you know, in this deck. And so I feel like it should have like spurred my intuition on, and it's like, it didn't, you know, and I didn't connect with it. I'm not sure. I think it was maybe it was like the time that I got it, and then it's like it sat, and then I just didn't pick it up again. So it's been sitting on my shelf, and it's a shame because this deck is amazing, and there's so many people who love this deck. So I feel like it needs to be with someone who will use it and get so much out of it. Like, whatever I couldn't get out of it, you know, I'm sure someone will, you know, get out of it. So yeah, I'm a little hurt by this one, and I wish it would have been different, but it's a really beautiful deck. It has a really special energy. And I think in the right hands is going to do so much for someone. So that is the Spacious Tarot by Carrie Mallon. So that's it. Those are all the tarot decks that I will be selling and just rehoming from my collection. I have a few oracle decks. I'm not going to share them here, but I'm going to list them anyway. I'm just not going to share them because I feel like this video is going to be so long already. So I do have a couple of oracle decks that I will be selling, and I'll list those in the description box. But anyone who's interested, I'm going to list the email that you can use to reach out to me. And again, open to just US residents right now. And the shipping will be included in the prices. So the pricing that I list in the description box, shipping is included through the United States Postal Service. And I'll also include payment information, like how I'll be accepting payments. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate. You can comment below or just reach out to me via email if you have any questions about the decks. If you want additional photos, I could do that as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope you find a deck that you might love or one that you've been looking for. And please, if you have any comments, if you've been culling your collection, if there's any decks that you've sort of rehomed that are similar or the same ones as mine, you could share that below. As usual, please like this video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.